Hi everyone and welcome back to Learn English at the Florrie. This is session 2 for our advanced classes. Okay, so just a link back to last week. We started by looking at how we can talk about ourselves and we were looking at jobs and talking about our routines at the different times of day, we got up and why. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be developing how we can talk about ourselves in a little bit more detail. And we're going to be looking at how we can identify different hobbies and how we can perhaps spell the words of our hobbies as well. We're also going to be watching a short video about British culture in terms of food. And again, these are different things we can use when we're talking about ourselves. Okay, so as always, there's two options really. You can either copy and paste this link on the screen now and you can complete the activities in your own time. Or as always, what I'll do is I will click on the link like I'm going to do now. Share the screen. And I will actually guide you through the activities, even if it's just so you actually know how to navigate the Nexus website. Okay, so as stated last time, we were talking about ourselves in terms of maybe jobs and routines. And what I'd like to start with today, as I said, is looking at the idea of free time. Because when we talk about ourselves, it's interesting to learn and share with others about what our hobbies might be. So you might like using the internet, you might play football, you might like to visit the museum, you might like listening to music. These are all things that might interest us, that we might use in our spare time. And it's, you know, we can learn more about each other when we explore our hobbies. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to navigate this system here. Okay, so I'm going to take it from my perspective. So I'm going to pick some things I like to do. So I'm going to leave that because I like shopping. Okay, I like the cinema, I like the park. Okay, so all you do here is you pick the images of the things that you like to do. Okay, so I've picked shopping, the cinema, the park, cafes, reading, music, and the internet. Okay, so I've picked some images there, and those images help me link what it is the hobby is. Okay, so shopping, cinema. Okay, so let's just go back. So shopping is where, you know, we might go to a local shop, we might buy fruit, vegetables, milk. It might be shopping for clothes, for shoes, for lots of different things. So it's where we go out to buy something. That's shopping. Okay, the cinema, so that's where we go, you know, we go out and we watch a film or a documentary on a big screen. So just like at home when you'd watch the television, the cinema, you know, you can buy popcorn and sweets, and that's where people go out to enjoy films on a bigger screen. The park, so at the moment lots of people are using parks more often. So you might go to the park to walk your dog, you might go to take your children to the park to go on the swings, you might just go to meet a friend for a walk. So some people enjoy going to the park in their free time. So a cafe, so that's where you might go to have a cup of coffee, tea, a drink, some lunch. Quite often people go with friends, so you might in your free time visit cafes. Okay, so we can tell from this image here that this lady is reading. So obviously when we read, we open a book. It might be a fictional story, it might be non-fiction, you might read a magazine, it could be a newspaper. So lots of people enjoy reading in their free time. Okay, music. So this man here has got some headphones on and he might be listening to any type of music. He could be listening to classical music, he could be listening to pop music, he could be listening to anything at all. So lots of people enjoy listening to music in their free time. Okay, so this one here, this is what we're doing now. We're using the internet. This is something that's very popular with lots of people. Okay, so some people might like to actually use the internet to explore different things that they're interested in their free time. So I've just shown you there some of my hobbies. These are some of the things I like to spend my time using or doing during my free time. So I've clicked on some there. Now, what I want you to do, now these might not be your hobbies, but based on the hobbies I've just shared with you, can you identify which image matches which hobby? Okay. So I'm going to leave you for a couple of seconds thinking time. So at home, you can actually do this yourself. And then I'll click on it and see if we've got it right. Okay. Which one goes with cinema? Hopefully you got that right. Which one is the park? Can you remember it from the previous task? Cafe. Reading. And music. Brilliant. Hopefully you got 7 out of 7 too. So what we've done there is we've identified a hobby. Okay, we've very briefly talked about what the hobby is, what it entails, and then you've had different images and hopefully you've been able to link the image to the hobby. Okay, so what I want you to do at home now, as I said, you might be doing this in your own time. You might do this after I've demonstrated it to you, or you might just have a pen and paper, and that would be great if you can do that as we go along. So what we want to see now is, can you actually remember the name of the hobby, and most importantly, can you actually spell it correctly? So have a look here. Can you remember the hobby that matches this image? Shopping. Can we remember this next hobby? See if you can write it down at home before I type it in. Cinema. Have a go at this one. Okay, the next one. Last but not least, what we're all doing now. Okay, so that activity there, what you can do, okay, in your own time, hopefully I've explained and demonstrated to you how you can actually use this tool here. At any time you can go back and you can pick any hobbies that apply to you, okay, and play around with it and actually practice each week, picking and identifying the hobbies, memorizing how to pronounce the hobby, and also practicing spelling the hobby as well. Okay, right, so based on the hobbies I've picked there, well, actually, there's a whole range of hobbies here, even better. We're actually going to look at how to put the words in the correct groups, because when we talk about our hobbies, there's different ways of phrasing it. Okay, so I think we'll start with play. So quite often with some hobbies we can't play. So when we can't play in a, we don't play in a cafe, we don't play in a cinema, we don't play in a museum or a restaurant. So if we're actually playing something, it means we're actively having to do it. So we're actually carrying something out. So quite often these hobbies would be classed as verbs. So for example, we have to play football, don't we? Because it's you're not on your own, you're actually playing a game, a sporting event with someone. So there's two people, they're kicking a ball. So have a look here. Can we see any others that you think might also go into this category? So if you're phrasing this, you would say, in my spare time, I enjoy playing football. It wouldn't make sense if you said, I enjoy playing a restaurant, or I play in a restaurant. It doesn't make sense. So tennis, hopefully you've picked that. I play tennis in my spare time. Yeah, I play basketball. Oops. In my spare time. Can we think of anything else that would go there? So cards is a hobby. Cards isn't necessarily a sporting event, but it's a game, isn't it? Okay, so all these things here, all these activities, they might be part of your hobbies. We have to play these things. So if you were talking about them, you'd say, I enjoy playing cards. I enjoy playing basketball. I enjoy playing tennis in my spare time. Or one of my hobbies is playing tennis. Okay, so these are hobbies that we'd play. So let's have a look now. Places we'd go to in our free time. I go to a cafe because you have to visit these places. So these are our nouns. These are places we have to go to. We couldn't say we play a cafe, go to a club. And quite often the clue for finding these out, they would normally have the letter A in front of it. So a cafe, a club. I go to a museum. I go to the gym. So which one here would be our last one based on the clue we've got two actually. Based on the clue I've just given you. I like going to a restaurant. Yep, hopefully you've got that there. The cinema. Oops, put that down again. Okay, so the other ones here, let's just phrase them out. I go skateboarding. I go swimming. I go the park. I go shopping. Okay, so that's an example there of what we can do. Okay, so that's just you know, a brief way really for you to talk about your hobbies. Hopefully you've learned a couple more things about the hobbies. So we're going to just finish now by seeing if you can, and again, it might be worth, if you're doing this on your own, that's great, but if you're at home, have a pen and paper. Let's see if now we can actually spell the missing letters. So which hobby? Something ping. Says it's 3 letters. Okay, shopping. The next one, swim something. Which 3 letters will we put at the end to finish that word? Music. Museum. So in your own time, you can actually go through and finish that off, okay? And that's just a really good way of helping you remember how to spell them, but also how to pronounce them, okay? So you can do that in your own time. So as I said, you can go back and practice this as many times as you want on this website. You go on choose, learn, remember, and write, okay? So I'm just going to return back to our screen. We're just going to continue talking and developing our skills here. So let's just recap again what we've done so far. The first week we were talking about ourselves, so our routine and our life. We've just looked there at how to use a really effective tool to identify our hobbies, to link the image and the action of the hobby, and then to pronounce the hobby and spell them. Okay, so what I want to move on to now is, obviously when we're talking about ourselves, we might talk about different food, and obviously in British culture, lots of different food influences our culture, and I'm sure we'll all agree that cuisines from all over the world now are a massive part of British culture. So for example, my favorite food is Italian food. So we're going to watch this video, and it just talks about a marketplace, and this marketplace is set in London. It's Borough Market. It's a fabulous market, and obviously we have lots of food markets in Liverpool as well, but it talks about how food from around the world is now part of British culture. So we're going to watch this, and then we're going to answer a couple of questions talking about the different foods. Okay.
The Chinese introduced Oriental food to Britain, but before the Chinese, immigrants from all around the world came to live in London. British people enjoy a huge range of food and flavours from other countries. This is Borough Market, London's oldest food market. Today you can find food here from all over the world. This is Italian cheese. Each group of settlers brought their own food and styles of cooking, and people here embraced the exciting new flavours. Maybe because British food wasn't very good. Restaurants from all around the world can be found on most British high streets. Indian, Chinese, Greek, Italian, Spanish, Persian, the list goes on. But just what are the UK's favourite dishes?
My favourite meal is Thai green curry.
One of my favourite meals is cottage pie with peas.
My favourite food is Chinese. Chinese.
What's my favourite meal? Still full English breakfast.
This is a full English breakfast. Tomato, black pudding, sausage, bacon, egg, mushroom.
A big fried breakfast might not be to everyone's taste, but in Britain, there is something for everyone. Celia Brooks-Brown is a food writer and knows all about food and the future of food in the UK today. Looks good. What have we got here, Celia?
Well, this is a British tomato salad with a Yorkshire-made sheep's cheese. And here we have a Barnsley lamb chop with new potatoes and a mint hollandaise sauce.
So is this a sign of developments in British cooking?
Yes, people want to know where their food comes from. Chefs in restaurants like these are reinventing classic British dishes. They're using ingredients that are locally sourced and locally grown.
So what about world cuisine?
Well, anything goes. Chefs love to experiment with ingredients from different cultures. And we live in a globalized society. It's very exciting.
Okay, Celia, if you were cooking these dishes at home, what ingredients from different cultures would you use?
Well, I might use something like this. This is a Moroccan spice mix called Ras el Hanout. Have a sniff.
That's really strong.
Lovely, isn't it? Now, this might make a lovely spice rub for that lamb chop.
I can't wait to taste this. The food in Britain reflects the many different cultures here. But some of the old favourites are here to stay. I'm off for my favourite. Fish and chips. Want a tip?
Okay, so there was lots to take in there. It is really interesting to think how much British culture is actually influenced from different countries around the world. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to think about this idea of British food and British culture, and we're just going to go through a couple of questions here. So again, you can do it on your own in your own time, or we can just go through. It's just to check we've understood some of the things that were discussed in the video. Okay, so what can you buy in Borough Market? So if you're at home, you could simply shout it out if you're with someone, and I'm going to go through it with you. Okay, so what can you, based on that video, what could you actually buy? What is an English breakfast? Which one? It was cooking it on a grill. There's a big clue. What does locally sourced mean? So what does it actually mean? If something's locally sourced, is it food that has been grown or produced close by, food that's bought from a local supermarket, or food from different countries? So if something's local, it means it's close, and sourced means where it gets it, where it's from. So food that has been grown, produced close by. So Carmen, the lady in the video, thinks that British food has been influenced by other countries because it's not very good, it's very fatty, or it's too healthy. Now, this is just her opinion, and she actually said because it's not very good. Okay. So this is an interesting, what does it mean to live in a globalized society? So society, a place where people live together. Is it your community is influenced by people and events across the world? Your family lives all over the world, or you buy your food from the internet? So could we say, based on that video, and obviously if we think about the different types of restaurants and the different types of shops we can get different food from, I would definitely agree that to live in a globalized society means that your community is influenced by different people and events across the world. You can have Indian food, you can have Thai food, all over England, can't you? Okay. Which of the options below is a traditional British meal? So a meal that you'd expect to find in Britain. Fish and chips, Thai green curry, or macaroni and cheese? Hopefully you pick fish and chips, one of my favourites. Okay, so we're just going to develop our understanding a little bit now, based on some of the things that the lady Carmen was discussing in the video. So again, have a go at home and I'll guide you through the questions. So this question says, before the Chinese came to Britain, where did the people who settled in London come from? See which one you think. Europe, Asia, or all over the world? Why does Carmen think that British people liked foreign food so much? So this is linking back to one we've already talked about, because the food wasn't very nice. You might agree, you might disagree. Now, I think this one's a little bit controversial, a bit shocking. It says, which of these is not in a full English breakfast according to the film? Well, in the video, I saw them talk about black pudding. I heard them talk about mushrooms, but I didn't hear about them discuss baked beans. But I do have baked beans when I have a full English. What jobs does Celia Brooks Brown do? So the lady that Carmen was sat with at the end. What was she doing? Was she a waiter, so someone who works in a restaurant, serving the food? Was it someone who cooks the food, a chef? Or was she there tasting the food to write about it? I'd go for B. What changes are happening to British cooking according to that film? So chefs are no longer cooking British food. People want more foreign spices, or people want ingredients to be locally, to be sourced and grown locally. So it was that one. What traditional British dish does Carmen like best? Fish and chips, lamb chops, or a cheese sandwich? So she was eating a lamb chop in the restaurant, and then she said on the way out that fish and chips was actually her favourite, didn't she? Okay, so let's just go back here. So what we've done today, we've looked at a range of different things. We've recapped on what we've done last week, okay? And we've discussed identifying our hobbies, okay? We've identified how to talk about our hobbies, how we'd phrase them, the things that we have to play, the places we'd go to. And what we've just done there is we've just looked at different types of food, and we've looked at how different food from around the world has actually influenced our culture. So you can also, when you talk about yourself, you might say, I enjoy eating fish and chips. I like to eat, and you could talk about Chinese food. So these are just more ways to talk about yourself in a little bit more detail. So if that's everything for this session today, and what we're going to do next week, we're going to have a really in-depth session looking at how to access your local services. So that's a really worthwhile session next week. So in the meantime, don't forget, you can go back onto this website here and practice talking about your hobbies in more detail. Okay, see you next week, everyone.